EVs were supposed to be the future. Not everyone is buying it. Electric vehicles, EVs, have long been heralded as the future of transportation, with the promise of reducing the carbon footprint and transforming the way society moves. The dream of a world where the quiet whir of electric motors replaces the clatter of internal combustion engines, ICEs, has been a driving force behind significant investments from governments, automakers, and environmental advocates. Yet, despite a decade of technological advancements and policy initiatives aimed at accelerating the shift, the road to an all-electric future remains fraught with challenges. A significant portion of the global population remains unconvinced that EVs are the definitive solution to the world's transportation needs. Environmental imperatives and governmental push. The push for EVs is rooted in the urgent need to address climate change. The transportation sector is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for nearly 24% of global carbon dioxide emissions, with cars and trucks being primary culprits. EVs, which produce no tailpipe emissions, are seen as a critical tool in the battle against global warming. For governments committed to meeting international climate goals, such as those outlined in the Paris Agreement, widespread EV adoption is not just desirable but essential. This has led to a flurry of policies aimed at accelerating the transition, including mandates for automakers to increase the proportion of EVs in their fleets and offering tax incentives and subsidies to consumers who purchase EVs. Cost barriers to adoption. One of the most significant barriers to wider EV adoption is cost. Although the price of EVs has been declining, driven by advances in battery technology and economies of scale in production, they are still generally more expensive to purchase than comparable ICE vehicles. For instance, as of 2023, the average price of an EV in the US was around $58,000 compared to $48,000 for an ICE vehicle. Even the least expensive EVs often cost several $1,000s more upfront than their gasoline-powered counterparts. This price disparity is particularly important in lower-income regions, where consumers may not have the financial flexibility to pay more upfront, even if an EV would save them money in fuel and maintenance costs over time. In countries like Norway, where substantial government subsidies and incentives have been implemented, EV adoption has reached 80% of new car sales in 2023. However, in many parts of the world, these incentives are either limited or non-existent, making EVs less accessible to the average consumer. The market for EVs could stagnate or even decline if governments phase out these incentives, highlighting the precarious nature of EV adoption in the absence of sustained financial support. Infrastructure challenges. Beyond the initial cost, the infrastructure needed to support EVs is another major hurdle. Unlike traditional cars, which can be refueled quickly at any gas station, EVs require a network of charging stations, which remains underdeveloped in many areas. While wealthier nations have made significant progress in building out charging infrastructure along major highways and in urban centers, rural areas, smaller towns, and less affluent regions often lag far behind. This discrepancy can create range anxiety for potential EV buyers, who worry about the availability of charging stations during long trips or emergencies. Even in regions with better charging infrastructure, the time required to recharge an EV can be a deterrent. While fast chargers can significantly reduce charging times, they still cannot match the speed of filling a gas tank. Battery longevity and environmental concerns. Another concern for potential EV owners is the longevity and reliability of the batteries that power these vehicles. Although there have been significant advancements in battery technology, including improvements in energy density, charging speed, and overall lifespan, concerns remain about the long-term durability of EV batteries. All batteries degrade over time, losing their ability to hold a full charge, which can reduce the vehicle's effective range. This degradation is a concern for consumers who worry about the cost and hassle of replacing a battery, which can be expensive, ranging from $5,000 to $20,000 depending on the model, and might negate the savings from reduced fuel and maintenance costs. Cultural and psychological barriers. Cultural and psychological factors also play a significant role in the reluctance to adopt EVs. In many countries, particularly in the United States, cars are more than just a means of transportation. They are status symbols, expressions of personal freedom, and reflections of identity. The visceral experience of driving, such as the roar of a powerful engine, the smell of gasoline, and the tactile feedback of a manual transmission, are deeply ingrained in automotive culture. EVs, with their quiet operation and digital interfaces, struggle to replicate these sensory experiences, leading some car enthusiasts to feel that they are losing something fundamental by switching to an EV. There's also a perception that EVs are luxury items suited only for the wealthy or those with a strong environmental conscience. This view is reinforced by the high cost of many EV models and the fact that early adopters often come from higher income brackets. Regional disparities and the global outlook. The challenges to widespread EV adoption are further compounded by regional differences in infrastructure, economic conditions, and cultural attitudes. In developing countries, where infrastructure is often less developed and incomes are lower, the barriers to EV adoption are even more pronounced. In regions with unreliable electricity grids, limited access to charging stations, and where second-hand vehicles dominate the market, the appeal of a new, relatively expensive EV is diminished. For instance, in Africa, EVs made up less than 1% of total vehicle sales in 2023, reflecting these significant challenges. Conclusion: a multifaceted approach to the future. While electric vehicles are likely the future of transportation, the journey to an all-electric future will not be as straightforward as some EV proponents might hope. The adoption of EVs is hampered by real and significant technological, cultural, economic, and infrastructure challenges that will take time and innovation to overcome. The transition to electric vehicles will not happen overnight, and it will require more than just advances in technology. It will require a comprehensive approach that addresses the diverse needs and concerns of consumers across different demographics and regions. To achieve the vision of an all-electric future, governments, automakers, and advocates must work together to make EVs more affordable and appealing to a broader range of consumers. This may involve expanding incentives and subsidies, investing in charging infrastructure, advancing battery technology, and finding ways to make EVs culturally relevant. It will also require an acknowledgement that the shift to electric vehicles is as much a social and cultural transformation as it is a technological one, and that bringing everyone along in this transition will require patience, effort, and empathy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.